Hello, good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is a beautiful cold day here in Michigan. Huddie is out on the western seaboard. It is 8:57 in the morning Eastern Standard Time on the 15th day of October, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome in. We have Wayne, Franklin, Mash for Fun, Joseph. Get over there in the live stream chat. Have a conversation with someone. Have a conversation with us. Ask a question about a ticker. We don't care. Do what you want over there. Keep it civil. Keep it happy. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well. We've gotten a little bit lazy on that. Let's just try to get that number up towards 50. And I don't say a peep. I don't say a word about it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss any of our content. We're live every day. The market is open Monday through Friday, 8:45 a.m. And then tomorrow on Wednesdays, we do 9:15 a.m. live trading. Kyle joins the show, and we have a wonderful, fantastic time. Usually go over the 30 minutes, and we have a good time. Also, we post long-form content every single Monday. We just met up and did a bunch of content a couple weeks ago, so be on the lookout for some really good videos coming your way. Yesterday, video dropped, another Hot Ones episode with Hot Stocks episode with Mr. Jack Kellogg, so go check it out. Just an interview style where they eat some hot wings and have a good time. So check it out on the YouTube channel when we're done here, and leave some feedback on that. Let us know how you like that series so far. How we doing, Huddie?
Feeling electric.
Are you really?
Yeah, I was practicing that line all morning. How'd I do?
You were practicing I'm feeling electric?
Yeah.
You did well. It sounded not rehearsed.
Nice.
Nailed it. All right, so on Good Morning Nasdaq, we like to talk about the biggest gappers in the small cap space, anything moving 70, 80, 100% plus percent on the morning. Talk about why they're up, talk about their share structure, their potential dilution, and we talk about the daily chart. So let you guys know what we look for when we pull up a stock for the first time. And usually it's everyone's first time when we see a gapper of the day. Gapper list has been quite light for a little while. We've had usually one okay looking one, and then couple of low percent this morning. We got two above 70%. We got ZPTA and DBGI. We'll hit on both of those. Looks like they're both a couple of cheapies, less than 30-cent stocks. So we'll talk about those and then hit on any questions you guys have. We'll wrap it up by 9:15 and call it a morning. All right. Hello. Let's do it. Where do you want to start? ZPTA, top gapper of the day.
Sounds about right.
ZPTA, top gapper of the day. Looks like it is AI, which makes sense. We want to preface this by saying kind of what we've seen with NVIDIA, and maybe I even saw like SOUN up yesterday. NVIDIA down today, but I think yesterday did make some highs, or at least, just barely didn't. That chart's been storming back. We talked a lot about this one earlier in the year. I mean, remember when we were shorting SMCI? I remember we had the boot camp in New York, and we were talking a lot about the big AI runners. They've kind of come back every year for the last couple of years, and NVIDIA has been quite strong. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe what's your take on going into the end of the year with AI plays, especially if this does break out and go on another big run along with the overall market?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to really predict if this breakout over 140 is going to have that much strength and what that's going to look like when it actually happens. But yeah, I imagine if we're going to have another wave of Nvidia from let's call it 130 to 150, you're going to see some trickle down into some other AI stocks. I mean, we've seen it 2 or 3 times before, so I don't know why we wouldn't see it again.
Yeah, and this morning we got a low price, a little cheapy with AI in the name. There's a lot of stocks with AI in the name. Is this the right ticker?
Heck, I would say SOUN is holding up a lot better than I would have expected. I mean, it's not near its highs anymore, but still over like the first breakout level.
Yeah, it has been one that has not gotten beaten down and back into the ground.
I can see the world where Nvidia breaks out. This one gets some volume, and we're in the 6s or 7s pretty soon after that, and then there's a real chart kind of forming. But it's far away.
We'll take it one day at a time. With ZPTA, Zapata AI, software application company. It says it's New York Stock Exchange. Do you have that as well? Or do you have Amex or NASDAQ or something else?
I haven't looked.
Usually we have something different if it's not NASDAQ.
I just like to go to FinViz and it says Nasdaq.
Okay. One of them. 31.54 million float. They are an industrial, generative AI company.
Generational.
Why does that word sound regenerative? Generative?
Regenerative.
AI company revolutionizing how enterprises solve complex problems with its powerful suite of generative AI software. They're really generating. I don't see any news today. What's today? The 15th?
The news is that they are not doing a business anymore.
Talk to me.
Zapata Computing halts operations and dismisses workforce on October 12th, Saturday. So that is why we see the gap down on the chart there. They have financial turmoil. They were unable to meet outstanding debt obligations of approximately 2.3 million and other creditor amounts. Consequently, no assets are expected to be left for shareholders after settling the debts. It's not great. Furthermore, the company will not pursue bankruptcy, so it's just this bottom bouncing stock that's no longer really doing any operations and has fired their whole workforce.
Okay. Yeah. So anything dilution wise before we take a look at the chart? 2.9 months of cash. I don't see anything.
I think there's something going on with this bankruptcy. It's not bankruptcy, but there's something going on when I look into their like recent AK of some shares being exchanged, but it's a little bit too over my pay grade in terms of how this company is dissolving itself. So I think like what I do is I just kind of put it in a bucket of, okay, this is a bottom bouncer. This is a stock that's been absolutely beaten up. They're on the verge of not being a company anymore, and now we're getting some volume off the lows.
Yeah, for some reason I can't get a daily chart, but you can see here on the intradaily. So what is going on here? So on Friday they kind of dumped in after hours, but you said that news came out on Saturday.
That's at least where I'm reading it from. I mean, maybe someone knew something.
Someone knew some. Drops from 26 cents down to as low as 6 cents. Trades yesterday at its lows on pretty decent volume, and then this morning is just higher. Kind of hard to wrap your finger around this one in terms of it being really a day one gapper. Kind of fits the criteria and the qualifications as one, but when you kind of dive deeper into the chart and the news, it's one that I kind of just want to stay away from. Super cheap, not a ton of range. Yeah, it's up 112%, but it's up 8 cents. So if you're a short seller, you got to be quite perfect to kind of combat those fees and commissions if you're going to short this. In terms of buying it, do I really want to buy something that's at its lows after just having bad news and everything Huddy said sounding pretty negative? I probably don't. This is one that I kind of probably look at this morning and then never look at it again. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think it's a bull case, you know, but yeah, to each their own on what you want to do with a 16-cent ticker.
Yeah, I just really don't like trading them unless they're an OTC back in the day or there's some sort of really hot momentum in the cheap space, which I feel like we get once or twice a year where maybe it's following some big sector and it's a trickle down effect. And instead of it going to OTCs nowadays, it goes to the cheap stocks in the world that it's in, whether it's AI or energy or solar, some sort of sector. And then we get a couple big gap ups on cheapies. You know, we had a run where we saw stocks doing 1 billion shares in a day, and those were generally on lower price stocks. If there's some sort of theme going on there, that's when I'm more interested in logging them. But down here, bottom bouncing off 8 cents to 16 cents, I don't really have any interest. And to each their own, though. Maybe someone has a specific edge there. It is doing pretty good volume so far this morning. So it's one to keep on watch. I just don't think this versus like a $3 stock doing 50 million shares on a 1 mil float is probably going to attract a lot more interest from short sellers than a 16-cent stock with bad news. So that's ZPTA, Zapata, zap it up any way you want. The next biggest gap of the day is digital brands. This is one that we have seen before. I've definitely seen this one either gapping or running. Let me go back. Maybe it was just one time back in the day. But another cheapie kind of coming off its lows as we take a look at the dilution tracker here. Digital Brands Group. They are an apparel retail company. And that's pretty much about it on both direct to consumer and a wholesale basis. That 3.79 million float. And do you have relevant news on this one?
Maybe.
I don't.
I don't see any. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. It's lagging. Last month, no, I don't see anything recent.
Yeah, last month they were launching Avio, a direct-to-consumer brand, after successful beta. They did earnings a month ago. Nothing new I see. Let us know in the chat if you guys see any news. They are pretty high across the board. It's red. It's screaming at you not to do anything long to it. Overall risk is high. Offering ability is high. Overhead supply is high. Cash need is high. They have negative 3.4 months of cash. Let's see. They have an offering from September, $5 million in progress. Price November 2022. A bunch of price and withdrawn stuff. Some exercise price is way higher. Okay, I don't see anything in dilution land that's relevant right now, unless you do.
I don't.
Taking a look at the daily chart, you can see a super top left to bottom right stock. It's really just getting beaten to the ground. Probably looks like it's done a reverse split at some point in the last year, I would say, based off of the float and how high up this chart goes. Did have a gap and crap day back in February, where it gapped up into 8, ran all the way 50% higher, and then closed lower than it opened. So maybe some precedent, some history of at least morning spiking off its gap. If I go further back, it's really just been top left to bottom right. Would kind of guarantee that they've done some sort of reverse split looking at these prices. But as we zoom in kind of to the last couple months, really just no volume. It's just been fading off and fading off and fading off to the depths of destruction down towards 14 cents, as high as the 40-cent area this morning. Looks like it's in the mid to high 20s right now. What are your first thoughts? Looks like it ran after hours yesterday at almost 5 o'clock. It ran from 15 to 42 and is pretty much way off those highs right now.
Yeah, this is just looks like a horrible chart. That's my first thoughts. It's super just downtrending, right? I don't see a world where this all of a sudden catches its first uptrend. This looks like a horrible stock. That's my thoughts. There's not really much to go off of, except for I know this stock. It's been around for a long time. It's done a ton of reverse splits. It's been dilutive. They've torn it into the ground, and every time it gaps up, it pretty much ends below where it opens. So that's kind of what I expect from it today, if it's going to follow its behavior, especially just given that there's no news that I see or anything like that. And we've already lost most of our pre-market gains. I don't think we're going to know what the stock is for much longer.
Yeah. Another one that I'm just really not all that interested. When it comes to this price range, I really lose a ton of interest unless it's a chart that's been building and, you know, something that has some sort of big picture structure where maybe it's coming off its lows, but spends a day or two running 150%, then pulls back and then kind of retests those highs and pulls and then does some sort of cup and handle. Like, really show me that it's in play down at the lows on day 1 or day 2. It's really hard to know that and to trust it. So, and I don't really want to short something where the best case scenario is if it goes red, I get 12 cents a share. And you know, there's over 12 cents to the upside to the pre-market highs, but it's just not very interesting to me for no real great reason. The daily chart sucks. The stock has historically sucked. And we're just not in a super momentous market right now. And, you know, I would still lean bearish based off all those reasons, being no news, being the overall daily chart trend. But would I do that? Probably not. But I definitely wouldn't be interested in a long. So those are the two biggest gappers of the day. Let's see what you guys are saying. Turk says, drug. Can you do a bit of analysis on this? How do you analyze for me?
Drugs?
DRUG.
Okay, stock went on a big run yesterday, gapped up, and faded in the pre. I don't know anything else about it. I didn't even see it running yesterday. Nice run though. I will say, got a little extended there at the end into a little parabolic move. And it seems like anyone that was long and riding the coattails of this trend yesterday are now maybe eager to be selling into this pre-market gap up. And we might have a bit of a pullback day because everyone's up nicely on their money.
Yeah, let's just see here. I don't see any news from yesterday that got it running. They are a biotech company. This one's been alive for a while, I feel like. 36 months of cash. They're kind of low across the board when it comes to overall risk and dilution. But yeah, this is just kind of day two here. I personally am just not, it's not up enough for me to be interested in a short. I don't like shorting day one runners. Don't like buying day two after day one runners. So this is kind of a spot where maybe I throw it on a watch list and let it breathe for a day or two. Maybe it sets up for a breakout. Maybe it goes higher and sets up for a short. But here on day two, I don't have any patterns for it. So it's not anything that's going to be near the top of my priority list. But it is one to note just because, anything that can go from one to the threes does excite me and does interest me. And maybe there's a play on it in the future, but nothing for me this morning on it. Jabril says, just watched Jack eat those hot wings. It was a cool interview. Yeah, we have a whole series. Check it out. All the Clovers have done one. We just did one with Kellogg. Check them all out. We just eat hot wings and answer questions. I think you guys get to know us a little bit more personally, and that was kind of the goal. I think we had a fun time doing it as well. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well. We got 9 more of you need to hit it, and we're at our goal for the day. You guys are saying BNZI. Thoughts on BNZI? BNZI engaging with MZ Group. I don't know what that means. Have we talked about this like 4 times in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys are expecting from this chart. It's just not where I would have any interest in the chart, but that doesn't mean that whatever your opinions or theses are wrong or right. I look at this chart and I see overhead resistance. I see a couple levels we have to get through and then more levels to get through and no real history of getting through them very well. So I just don't really know what I'm expecting here or why that news would like entice me back into this chart.
Yeah. I mean, again, from a long perspective, these charts are really just not anything I'm interested in, usually just because you have all this overhead from before, from the 4s all the way up to the 11s. It's really only had one day of kind of movement. And besides then, it's kind of faded off the lows, gapped up, failed, pulled back, gapped up. I would kind of expect the same type of thing, gap up and fail, because that's been its history. And it would take probably either massive amounts of volume or serious shorts getting squeezed to get this back into the 8, 9, 10 area. So that's not something I'd be betting on. And I just don't think there's a ton of range. There's more range here, I feel like, than like the 10-cent stocks. Dollar up $1.50 today, up 40%, but doesn't really meet any gap and crap criteria. It's really just not up that much. And yeah, this is just something I'm really just not that interested in. SGD, we'll talk about and then get on out of here, up 60% on the day. A couple of you guys asking about that one. History of failure on days it gets volume on these 2 precedented ones. You kind of see it goes from the 8s to the 10s and then ends up closing down in the 5s. This day here, is this a weed play or some sort of in that world? This one gapped up into the 8s, ended up closing down in the 6s, and kind of faded off of that support level over the past week or two down into the 3s. Now it's gapping up into the 6s. Looks like just recently 9 o'clock, so they probably just got some news. 21 minutes ago, they completed site work and received permits to begin construction in South Texas. Any thoughts on this chart?
I think this is an Amex stock, if I remember correctly. Oh, maybe not.
NASDAQ.
It's NASDAQ. Yeah, I mean, right now, when I pull up the chart, first look kind of looks like a short into resistance type of play where, you had these big volume days from earlier in the year, topping out at 8 and 11. So that's where I would probably draw some lines. In terms of overhead resistance, that's probably significant. Now, the volume wasn't that big on those 2 days, but we're also not necessarily overwhelming it just yet on this day either. So it really depends on how much volume comes in market open and how serious those resistance candles are. But right now, it feels like stock has a history of gapping up and failing. Right now, we're gapping up into those resistance levels. So my gut call says it's going to have a hard time breaking that resistance, at least in the morning session before we have any evidence of volume and real interest.
Yeah, if this float is accurate on Dilution Checker, it says it's 530K, which is a little sketch, which is probably why there was so much range on those days back in July and August, even though it didn't really do that much volume. If it is this low of float, it could get a little sketchy, it could get a little weird. Something out of the tickers we've talked about today probably has some sort of strength. I will not be guessing and trying to figure that out. But yeah, there is resistance in those spots in the 8s and the 11s, but we already have done more volume, and in a world where we're doing 10, 15, 20 mil, there's probably a lot of range on this stock in both directions. I really just prefer not to trade 500K floats just because getting out where I want is important to losing 1R, and it can be very difficult sometimes if you have stocks halting or stocks ripping through and there's just no bid or no ask. So you just got to kind of have some caution when trading super small, tiny little micro floats. But being up 55% of the day, not going to be a top priority for me. I just don't trade a lot of day one stocks. So it's one where I will add it to a list and see where it's at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And if it's holding up and squeezing, maybe it's something, again, for the future, but not for me today. All right, Huddie, why don't you close this out here? 9:18 this morning. Got some stuff, got some gappers, got some movers. Got DJT, we got NVIDIA potentially breaking out soon. Close this up.
It all seems great out there. Lots of I got nothing.
Give me something.
It's 6:20 a.m. and brain is still halfway there.
Brain's still halfway there, but you're on your way, right? All right, everybody, thank you for being here this morning. Like I said, remember tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel, where we will be doing some live trading for you. And a little bit of question and answer. So make sure to show up for that. If you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Check out all of our new content. Every Monday we post long form hot ones with Jack Kellogg. And have a wonderful, fantastic, amazing, rainy, cold Tuesday. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 9:15 a.m. for another episode. Have a wonderful day, everybody.